You don't have to have a big house to have a beautiful and high-end looking room. Let's talk about it. Hey there, it's Christina from the DIYmommy.com. In this video, I want to show you how to make your small space look more luxurious, bigger, and more high-end. Lots of people think that in order to do this, you need a giant budget, but as a home stylist who's worked on lots of smaller spaces over the years, I know that this is not the case. Let me show you some simple tips and tricks that'll make your small space look amazing on a budget. Let's get started. My first tip for making your small space feel larger is to paint the ceilings, the trim, and the walls in a lighter color. You don't have to paint them white, but I do like a good white color. I do have a blog post all about my favorite white colors. I will link that down in the description box below. Paint colors have what's called a light reflectance value. So that's basically how much light is reflecting off of the color and bouncing back into your space. The higher the light reflectance value, or the LRV, the more light is going to bounce around your space. Therefore, the bigger your room is going to feel. That's why nice bright white colors with a higher light reflectance value are going to make your room feel a lot bigger. Here's an example of a room that originally had darker walls, and here it is painted with lighter tones, and you can see it instantly looks a whole lot bigger. The second way to make your small space look bigger on a budget is to use mirrors. So mirrors are another way that you can easily reflect light and bounce them around your space. You can use full-length mirrors in a bedroom, you can put them on a living room wall, you can even use them in the kitchen. And of course, I like to put large oversized mirrors in the entry for practical purposes to check on your outfit as you are leaving, and also for aesthetic purposes to bounce more light around what usually is a smaller space in your entry. You don't have to buy expensive mirrors. You can go to places like Walmart and IKEA, pick some up from there. You can also go to the thrift store. They often have huge mirrors for a great deal. Mirrors are a fantastic budget-friendly way to bounce light around your space and give the illusion of a bigger feeling room. Now let's talk about today's sponsor, Omaze. Omaze is a fundraising platform for a new generation of donors. They give everyone a chance to dream big and win once-in-a-lifetime prize packs while helping make the world a better place. This sustainable approach to fundraising means that nonprofits can spend less time and money raising funds and instead focus on the needs in their own communities. I am so excited today to be working with Omaze, who is sponsoring today's video, to give you a chance to win a $130,000 tiny home by Trueform Tiny and support a great cause, the National Park Foundation. You can go to omaze.com/DIYmommy for your chance to win. You know that I love small homes, I love tiny cabins, so I think it would be a dream to win a custom tiny home like this. You also know that I love camping, I love traveling with my family, so supporting nonprofits like the National Park Foundation is really important to me. So again, for your chance to win a $130,000 custom tiny home from Trueform Tiny, head on over to omaze.com/DIYmommy after you watch this video for your chance to win. Now let's talk about the third way in which you can make your small room feel bigger, and that is hanging your curtains on your window high, closer to the ceiling, and wide. I talk a lot about this, I get some hate about this, but honestly, this is one of my favorite tricks to making rooms feel bigger. So rather than hanging your curtains right on top of your window, right on top of your window frame, bring them up about 6 inches to even 4 inches from the ceiling. That's going to instantly give the illusion of your ceilings being taller. You can also make sure that your rod extends quite a bit beyond the right and the left side of your window to make your windows appear larger and therefore your room appear larger too. My next tip to make your room feel bigger, and this one is both easy and hard, I find, and that's to get rid of any unnecessary clutter. This is free. So this is definitely a very budget-friendly way to make your small space feel bigger, but it does take some gumption. Definitely those of us that like to hang on to our things have a bit harder of a time letting go. However, I promise you, when you declutter, when you donate, when you simplify the items in your space, it's instantly going to feel larger and ultimately a more relaxing place to be in. So what I like to do is pretty much anything that I have not used or touched, or my children haven't used or touched in 6 months, we really evaluate and decide if we need that in our home. And if we don't, can we give it to somebody? Can we donate? Can we recycle? And I definitely feel like I have to be in the mood for this. So when this mood strikes, this purging, this donation mood, I try to take advantage of it and start decluttering immediately. My next trick is to use light colored furniture in your space rather than darker, heavier tones of furniture. Just like painting your walls light and bright colors, this is also going to create that optical illusion that your space is larger than it is because you have more light bouncing around your space. So if you have a dark piece of furniture and you're thinking that you want to reuse it in your space, you can paint it, you can strip and stain it. I have lots of tutorials on how to do that in a budget-friendly way, and I will link those down in the description box below. Speaking of furniture, another great way to make your small space appear larger is to use smaller scale furniture rather than big oversized pieces in your space. I feel like over the years, furniture has become bigger and bigger. The scale has just increased more usually. However, there are still some fantastic smaller scale pieces that you can find and put in your space. If you have a small space, try to make sure you choose furniture pieces, so sofas, side tables, coffee tables, etc., that match the scale of your room. Don't forget to use that measuring tape to make sure the pieces fit inside your space. Some fantastic budget-friendly places to find smaller furniture would be places like IKEA, places like thrift stores, and places like antique stores. There was more smaller scale furniture back in the day, so thrifting and finding things at antique stores is a really good idea, and that's also going to add some personality into your space. A bonus tip here is you will also want to look for furniture maybe that has some more legs showing. So rather than having skirts around your chair, skirts around your sofa, having that leg showing is also going to give the illusion of a more spacious, open, larger room. My next tip is to play with lines in your home decor, in your interior design, to create that illusion of a bigger room. So what I mean by this is if you have a low ceiling, for example, you can add vertical lines to your decor to give the illusion of a higher ceiling. So you might be able to do this with things like a DIY board and batten, perhaps with wallpaper, perhaps with shiplap. You can even do this by adding drapes, which create a vertical line as well. Another way I like to add vertical lines to a space is through furniture. So you could add bookcases that span right from the floor to the ceiling to really draw the eye upward and give your ceiling more of a taller feel. If you have a narrow space, like a hallway, for example, you might want to add some horizontal lines to make that hallway feel wider. Again, you can do this through trim work, shiplap, beadboard. There's a lot of budget-friendly options that you can add lines into your space to make your space just feel a little more spacious. My next tip to make a space feel bigger is to play with area rugs to really define spaces in your home. So if you have an open space with a few different purposes, so maybe it's a combination dining room, living room, kitchen, you can use area rugs to define each space. When picking out an area rug, you want to make sure it's the right size. So I usually suggest erring on the larger side rather than the smaller side for an area rug. You want to make sure that at least the front legs of your furniture are sitting on the area rug. It's best to have all the legs of your furniture on that rug, but if you can't afford it or can't find the right size, just the fronts is perfect. And then you want to have about 2 feet between the edge of the rug to the wall. Having area rugs in your space will help really anchor your furniture down, define those spaces, and make a common area feel nice and large. My next tip is to take advantage of vertical space to free up some floor space and make your room feel larger, more open, and less cluttered. You probably know I'm a huge fan of wall storage and bringing things up and off countertops, up and off the floor for wall storage. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can do this. For example, you can use furniture. So you can put things on shelves, have the shelf span from the floor to the ceiling, do an IKEA hack, buy those Billy bookcases, but trim those out to make them look more custom on your wall. I love my IKEA shoe cabinets. I framed them out with some trim to make them look more custom. Again, taking the clutter of the shoes from the floor, putting them on the wall. You can also do things like DIY pegboard walls in a laundry room, office area, garage, getting things up and off the floor, up and off the shelves onto the wall. I like to frame mine out to make them look a little bit more custom. And then you can also use things like picture ledges, floating shelves, hooks on the wall, so many different things that you can put on your wall to store things, whether it's for aesthetic purposes or practical purposes or both. This next tip is one of my favorites, and that is to use hidden storage to your advantage. In a small space, you have to get a little bit creative with storage because often you don't have the space to have big pieces of furniture to store things. For example, use that space underneath the bed. So get some kind of rolling cart or drawer system underneath your bed. Look for double duty furniture. So maybe if you have a side table in your living room, you want to make sure that it has drawers and shelves in it so you can actually store things in there to reduce that visual clutter in your home. Another great example of a double duty piece of furniture is our bench and our breakfast nook. It's actually kitchen cabinet, so I'm storing some servingware and things in there, but it also serves as a place for my daughters to sit. You can also look for other double duty pieces like ottomans where it's a place to rest your feet, but maybe it opens up like this one I found here. You can store things inside and the top flips to a tray. So there you have it. Those are my 10 favorite ways to make a smaller space look larger and more high-end on a budget. I hope you found these tips helpful, and I hope you'll be able to use some of them in your own space. If you have any more tips and tricks on how to make small spaces look bigger, let us know down in those comments below. And don't forget to enter for your chance to win a custom tiny home through Omaze. I'm gonna leave that link down in the description box below too. For more DIY and home decor ideas on a budget, I'm gonna leave some more videos for you to watch next, right up here.